Like I said earlier, we are evolving. We are changing our approach to this big, beautiful game and how we look ahead to new chapters.
Y encima ahora viene una review entera.
It's time for a new adventure.
Qué tocho, tío.
One that has grown from the very seeds of what captured our hearts when we first set foot in Azeroth. For veteran players, the last 20 years have led us to this. And for those who have yet to join us, now is the time. And who better to talk about the first step in this journey?
¿A quién van a traer? ¿A Holinka o alguno de estos?
Than someone who carved the path in the first place. Everyone, please welcome my friend and the executive creative director of the Warcraft universe, Chris Metzen.
Ah, Metzen. Digo yo, ¿verdad? Cacitrompas. Esto fue idea de Metzen de calle. Lo del Classic Plus fue idea de Metzen de calle. De calle. 100%. Seguro que ha sido idea de este tío. Este tío es el puto amo. Este tío es el puto amo.
What up, BlizzCon?
¡Woo!
Holy smokes! Horde, where you at?
¡Oh!
Alliance!
¡Oh! ¡También! Soy las dos cosas.
BlizzCon as one!
Dios, es que este tío es mi padre.
Holy smokes! Thank you. Thank you. It is, thank you guys. It has been a long, strange trip to get back to this spot. I tell you that. It has been interesting this past year, being back under the hood of World of Warcraft. It has reminded me of a few things. One, I love Warcraft.
That's for sure.
Number two, you know what? I really missed this work.
Lo echaste de menos, ¿eh?
And number three, on the real, it feels amazing to be back and part of this Blizzard family again.
Me alegro mucho, Chris. Te lo mereces porque eres el puto número uno.
As Holly said a bit ago, next year is the 20th anniversary of World of Warcraft. I can't even believe it. Whatever. How many of y'all have been playing from the beginning?
Yo llevo aquí desde entonces.
I love you, Prison. So given that, what was that? Doesn't matter. We started thinking, so what next, right? What expansion hook, what single storyline could possibly match such a historic occasion? We started thinking about, well, I did, the good old days, right? And some of those early mythic ideas that kind of established the background of Warcraft. Started thinking about even some of the newer ideas that have played out more recently, but still in a way feel a little unresolved. And in the mix of all that stuff, in the mix of all those ideas, particular things like, what the hell has Magni actually been babbling about all these years?
Eso digo yo. Es una buena pregunta.
Was the thing that he came to warn us about in Battle for Azeroth, did it actually play out? Or is there potentially something darker still looming on the horizon?
Este mes es Classic Plus. Hostia, me ha desmontado este argumento.
Will there eventually be an apocalyptic confrontation between the forces of the light and the void? Talk to me, BlizzCon. I'll tell you what, for nothing, my pally Maine, I'm all in on that kind of thing if it happens. It's gonna happen. And really the big question for all the marbles, what have the Titans actually been doing since the dawn of civilization?
Los
What is the
titanes.
real purpose of all of their cute little installations slammed into the side of the planet? Do we know everything we need to know about their real intentions for our world? Just saying. BlizzCon. All of these hooks and 100 more. 68, carry the 2. A bunch more. All cooking in the pot. Started to reveal a storyline. Something epic. How epic? Real epic. A storyline that in almost every way feels like the culmination of the first 20 years of our storytelling. A storyline provided we do our jobs, we do the thing that will vector us into the next 20 years of adventure.
¡Wow!
BlizzCon.
Quieren hacer una nueva trama de historia
Are you with
a
me,
partir de
BlizzCon?
todo lo que vivo.
We call this storyline the World Soul Saga.
World Soul, el alma de la tierra, el alma del mundo.
The World Soul Saga is so epic, as we covered. It cannot be contained within any single expansion. It is built to play out over multiple expansions over the next few years.
Hostia, es un
Come
nuevo
on
punto de
now.
partida. Es un nuevo punto de partida, es WoW 2. Es WoW 2 esto. Esto es WoW
Having
2.
said that, we are working on multiple ways to deliver this adventure to you a little faster than you're used to. We're not going to get into it at this BlizzCon, forgive me. But keep your ears peeled. I assure you, we are moving with purpose. And the last thing we really want is for y'all to have your grandkids controlling your mouse and your keyboard trying to wrap this thing up. So, it's coming. Also, given the scale of this monster, we have decided to change it up today. Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Instead of just debuting your next expansion all on its lonesome, we have decided to give you a glimpse at your next 3 expansion sets.
Nos van a decir 3 expansiones, pero se están calentando.
Does this meet with your approval, BlizzCon?
¡Wow! Pero esto es un megaporro de BlizzCon tremendo. Estamos siendo
My
conscientes de que
friends,
estamos
I'm
viviendo
gonna
la mejor
warn
BlizzCon de la
you,
historia.
there may be mild spoilers ahead. Actually, I'm just kidding. They ain't mild. Buckle up. Are you ready, BlizzCon?
Buah, se viene videazo, Se viene videazo. Viene algo muy tocho,
The first part of the World Soul Saga and your 10th expansion is called World of Warcraft: The War Within.
War Within.
In this chapter, you will be descending into the heart of Azeroth itself,
Al corazón de
exploring new subterranean kingdoms and engaging with ancient cultures like the Earthen and the
Subterráneo.
terrifying Nerubians of Azj-Kahet.
Los nerubianos. Hostias, claro, que viven bajo la tierra.
But as the
Como los de Tok.
forces of darkness close in around our precious world soul, You, yeah, that's you, will be called to do what you always do, which is dispense indiscriminate justice upon all those who got it coming.
That's right.
Talk to me, BlizzCon.
¿Cómo le maneja, el puto Metzen, tío?
The second part of the World Soul Saga is called World of Warcraft Midnight.
Midnight.
In this chapter, you will be returning, ready, to the old world,
Vuelves al
to
mundo
the
antiguo.
fabled lands of Quel'Thalas.
¡Oh, Quel'Thalas! O sea, volverás al viejo
There,
mundo,
the
pero...
forces of the Void have
Pero
invaded Azeroth, intent on snuffing out the light of the Sunwell and plunging the world
Hostia,
into
Sunwell.
darkness and fear. You will not only help reunify the scattered elven tribes of Azeroth, but you will make your stand with the forces of the light and banish the shadow forever.
O sea, vas a empezar en el núcleo del mundo en la primera expansión, luego sales a la superficie en el
course.
mundo antiguo.
BlizzCon, it is Azeroth. Things may not go to plan. Things may just spiral wildly out of control, leading us to the third part of the World Soul Saga. World of Warcraft, the last Titan.
El último titán.
In this chapter, you will again be returning to the old world, this time to the wintry lands of Northrend.
Northrend.
And there, at Ulduar, you will bear witness to the return of the Titans to Azeroth.
O sea, volveremos a un nuevo Ulduar,
And
como el de Lich King.
you will uncover a
Northrend.
vast conspiracy, one that stretches throughout the history of the world, one that will challenge everything you think you know about the Titans, their intentions, and the true nature of Azeroth itself. In time, my friend, in time. And it's called Silithus. There you go. BlizzCon, my hope, our dear hope, is that you can see when it comes to WoW storytelling, we ain't screwing around.
Me gusta eso. Me gusta eso. Esto es
We are playing
tochísimo.
for all the marbles. We are working to establish a thundering heartbeat for this franchise. Now, now, BlizzCon. Hearken to me. Always wanted to say that. Thank you. Whether you are a current player, and I'm going to bet that most of you are, or maybe you jumped off the WoW train a few expansions ago, now is the time to come home. Now is the time to pull on your boots, pick up your broadsword or your favorite glowy staff, and get in this fight.
Qué tocho está siendo esto.
Friends,
Puto Chris, qué
Azeroth
tocho.
needs her defenders now more than ever.
Pero quiero saber cuándo será la
Now.
expansión. Dirá algo.
In a
Si
few
es
moments,
Cataclismo en medio año.
we are going to give you a deeper look at the
Vale.
war within.
Vale, vale.
But before we do that, I want to leave you with a little something to chew on. I want to remind you all that sometimes very epic things can begin with small, heartfelt moments. What you're about to see is one of those moments. And with that, BlizzCon, proud defenders of Azeroth,
Es increíble este tío.
let the World Soul Saga begin.
¡Wow! ¡Qué tocho es esto! Oh, baby. Cinemática absolutamente perfecta. Es Anduin. Es Anduin. Buah, qué realista. Está mayor, ¿eh? Anduin está mayor, ¿eh? Buah, qué tocho, hijo de la gran puta. Qué putos gráficos tiene, tío. Qué tocho. Buah, es que las cinemáticas de Blizzard siempre han sido las mejores. Siempre. Buah, qué tocho, tío. Qué tocho.
You're here to tell me we don't get to hide.
Oh,
Is that
el
it?
papá. Obvio.
You needed time. We stayed away. But time by itself heals nothing.
Cierto.
You didn't just come here for me. It's the visions.
Pero ¿cómo tiene esos gráficos?
You've seen them.
I suspect many have lately. Something, someone, is calling out from the heart of the world. Like a voice from a dream. Something dark is coming, Anduin. The world needs your light again. My son.
I am not that person anymore. I have no light. Not after what I've seen. Not after what I've done.
You are not your past, Anduin.
Qué burrada de gráficos.
I trust you.
Anduin, tienes que volver. Te necesitamos. O sea, no será una expansión de guerra.
Hear me.
They're getting worse.
Dios, qué mayor está Anduin, qué bien hecho. Dale la mano a papá. Sabes que sí, Anduin. Humanos y orcos nos llevaremos bien una vez más.
Look. Whatever's coming, I'll stand with you. Of course I will.
My
But
boy.
we were drawn here by the voice. Who is it, Thrall? Who's calling out to us?
I'm not sure yet. But that sword was aimed at someone.
¡Hostia puta! ¡Qué tocho, hijo de la grandísima barracuda. 2024 y no va a ser... Es dentro de un año, chicos. Es dentro de un año. Saldrá rollo noviembre, diciembre. A lo mejor en la próxima BlizzCon.
I do have to say, though, every time I see that cinematic, and I've seen it many times, it gets me right in my heart. It feels like a new beginning, and it feels like coming home. And we are so excited about where we are going. And now that you've seen or heard the overview for the World So Saga, let's talk about the war within. As we all gather and explore beneath the surface, we'll find an ancient Nerubian civilization.
Nerubianos.
They will be led by someone we were first introduced to in Legion, Xal'atath, a harbinger of the Void.
No me acuerdo quién es Xal'atath.
The Void brings destruction and darkness that threatens all light in our world. The last time we saw Xal'atath, she promised we would meet again. And it turns out she was right. And while Anduin, Thrall, and others share the same visions emanating from the heart of the world, some are seeing something quite different.
My visions are not the same as the others. No radiance, no song, just the shadow taunting me
Putos nerubianos de mierda, me dan un asco.
from below.
Este es un game. Azkahet. Buah, zona de Ulteat de mierda. ¡Oh, me encanta! La isla de Dorn. Bien, bien, me gusta que haya sido feliz. The Ringing Deeps. Depths. Hallowfall. Vale, me gusta esta zona también. Vale, va a ser muy... Va a ser muy estilo LK, ¿no? Por lo que interpreto. Muy estilo LK. Nerubianos, como la dungeon como una de las primeras dungeons de Lich King. Dynamic Flight. Van a tener vuelo dinámico. Espero que no salga de Open. Espero que no salga de Open. Espero que no salga de Open. El vuelo. Que tengamos que ir todos por el suelo.
The fate of our world rests upon the edge of a knife. And our battle lies deep within.
In the War Within, alongside beautiful, unique underground zones, we will have challenging dungeons and raids and some new features too that are built to last. If you like exploring on your own with a couple of friends or family, we have delves. These are a variety of bite-sized experiences for 1 to 5 players that will offer endgame rewards. You may also find in your delve a familiar character who'd be willing to fight alongside you. And if you're like me and you have an obsession with alts, we have warbands.
Warbands, ¿qué
With
es
this
eso?
feature, you could treat all of your characters like family and share banks, reputations, transmogs, and more.
Compartir reputaciones con todos tus personajes, banco, etc. Bravo. Ya era hora.
We're also introducing
Bravo.
a new layer of customization for your class specs with hero talent.
Bravo.
You
Por
might
fin.
want to take your character down
Por
the
fin.
path of a Dark Ranger, let's say, or a Farseer, and more.
No sé qué ha dicho ahí. ¿Qué ha dicho ahí?
Also, during your travels underground, you will meet the Earthen Dwarves, and you'll be able to unlock them as our new allied race.
Earthern
I mean, who doesn't love a dwarf? The
Dwarf,
social hair
dijo.
options are
Vale, hay
spectacular.
una nueva raza aliada que son enanos.
There's so much more to talk about, so please join the What Next panel that's
Que
coming
serán
up
los enanos.
right after the opening ceremony right here. What I can tell you, though, is that the call to get into the fight to save our world will ring out when The War Within releases next year.
Año que viene. Acabar 2024, lo que os dije. Va a ser de puta calle septiembre.
And lastly,
Octubre.
I sincerely want to
Octubre
say
yo creo que queda mejor.
we are so excited to begin this new journey with you. And from our hearts to yours, thank you for bringing our world to life.
Será octubre o
And now,
noviembre, no
with
creo que
his own
coincida con la
notice,
BlizzCon del año que viene.
Mike
Será
Ibarra.
antes, y en la BlizzCon sacarán algo nuevo. Yo creo.
Thank you to all the teams who presented today. There really is so much to look forward over the next 2 days. And this is only the beginning. I can't wait to walk the halls of all of Anaheim with all of you. It is truly a joy to be here with the Blizzard team and our players. BlizzCon, be great to each other and enjoy the show.
Vale, ahora viene todo lo del WoW. Esto es como si acabase de terminar, pero acaba de empezar. Ahora viene lo gordo, que es en profundidad todo lo que acaban de explicar. Porque el primero es el WoW y el segundo WoW Classic, que es lo que me interesa. Luego lo demás me da un poco más igual. Pero WoW y WoW Classic tengo que verlo entero, íntegro. Que es lo tochi ya es lo primero. Creo que empieza ya, de hecho. Tengo que convencer al Necro de que juegue esto. Lo tengo que convencer, lo llamamos. Ninja llamada. Al Kenkro. Hay que convencerlo de que juegue esto. Le voy a meter una llamada ninja. ¿Estás viendo? Ah, mira, están poniendo ya la...
No, sí, te estoy viendo a ti.
Lo de Retail, están poniendo lo de Retail en el otro lado. Ha empezado la charla de Retail.
You may have heard, thank you. As you may have heard from Chris during the opening ceremony,
La de Classic es a las 11:30.
of a new era of Warcraft.
Cerrar esto. Que es que he visto algún vídeo por ahí de lo de las runillas, tal, los
Sí.
efectos.
Te paso yo ahora uno que vi antes. De Sony.
Sí, ese es el que he visto yo.
Ah, ese que he visto.
This saga kicks off with the War Within. In this first chapter, our heroes will be called on an expedition to the subterranean depths of Azeroth, revealing a new world full of mystery, wonder, and darkness.
A mí esto me ha molado, ¿eh? Lo de que van a construir ya un mundo y tal. Mola porque creo que me da la impresión de que algunas expansiones como que cierran de forma prematura la historia. No sé si me entiendes, ¿sabes?
Sí, totalmente.
Y aquí yo creo que está guay. O sea, te montarán ya algo pues a lo largo de 3 expansiones y va a estar más chulo.
Mola más porque va a tener más continuidad y la gente que lo juegue desde el principio lo va a disfrutar mucho más a la larga.
A ver, esto de Classic es una locura. Es el día 30, no sé si nos pillará con algo, pero hay que darle igualmente, ¿eh?
Espero que no, tío, porque yo quiero estar a full esos días, a full.
Es que yo, por ejemplo, yo no sé cuándo es lo de Pokémon, pero no sé, será por ahí, ¿no? Por diciembre o algo, no lo sé.
¡Hostias!
Claro, por ahí andará, supongo. Es que quiero decir, se acaba ya el mes.
Buah, es verdad. Buah, es verdad, sí, es cierto, tienes razón.
Pero que igualmente se puede, o sea, quiero decir.
Se compagina.
El día 30, vamos a ver, es nivel 25 lo máximo, ¿eh?
Sí, o sea, que se
O sea que, claro.
Thrall spoke of a vision calling out from the heart of the world, like a voice.
No es ningún leak, gente. Suponemos que tendrá que ser por diciembre, ¿no?
No, tiene que serlo, sí. Hay otro.
And while at the same time, a darkness has been gathering, even as the heroes adventured on the Dragon Isles, and in the War Within, the mysterious harbinger that Iridikron spoke of will reveal themselves. Xal'atath has returned. Freed long ago from the black blade that once bound her, she is now the harbinger of a new era of the Void's dark machinations. And her message is clear. The Black Empire
A mí lo que me ha molado de esto del retail, que ha dicho que los talentos van a ser como talentos heroicos y que te va a cambiar la clase. Ha dicho, por ejemplo, podría ser un Dark Ranger, que eso es como una clase que está pidiendo mucho la gente, ¿no?
Molaría mucho, sí. Pero hay que ver un poquito, a ver si lo explican un poco más, porque se quedó como un poco en el aire.
The forces of the Horde and the Alliance have proven time and again they are among the most powerful armies that have ever stood. the Harbinger has watched this. She is patient. And while the Black Empire failed, Xal'atath now seeks to set in motion the rise of a new dark legacy, one that knows our true strength and will seek to test it against a new threat of terrible power, the Nerubians of Azj-Kahet. Xal'atath has conscripted the Nerubian queen Ansurek, having offered her people a new future, one in which they will rise from their isolation as a mighty kingdom once again. And here in this sprawling city of Azj-Kahet, we will not find the undead soldiers of the Lich King that we faced before, but instead a new, mighty stronghold of the Nerubians as they once were, deadly survivors of the mythic wars that have played out time and again over thousands of years. In return for their loyalty, Xal'atath has granted the Nerubians the means of a dark evolution, one that will turn the Nerubians into a new kind of ferocious and terrifying soldier that we will clash against time and again in the war within. Now let's talk about who we'll be adventuring with. How do you like the key art?
O sea, choca, yo pensaba que iban a hacer algo en el HOTS, no es coña, con lo que habían hecho del servidor de testeo, me vine arriba. A ver, te ponen un tweet después de años o de mucho tiempo, en plan, no, servidor de testeo, un parche, la gente se vuelve loca.
Sí.
Yo me lo instalé ayer, me lo pasé de puta madre, me snipearon, me tilté y ya estaría.
Lo de siempre.
While Thrall is seeking a connection to these visions, spreading across the world and working to find his new place.
Parece que va a ser una expansión bastante friendly entre Alianza y Horda.
The heavy weight of that responsibility once and for all. Champion.
A mí me mola, no están las Silvanas, pero está la hermana, o sea, yo te la compro. Vale. Yo de hecho le he metido un pre-order histórico.
Buah, me acaba de meter una persona un mensaje, te lo voy a enviar.
Vale.
Alaria Windrunner.
Porque es durísimo esto.
¿En el buen sentido?
Bueno, en el sentido regular.
Central to the events of the themes of the war within, as she, a void hunter, will use all of her prowess to hunt down the Harbinger while being torn between her own nature and the maddening call of the void to which she is attuned.
Ah, bueno, espérate.
Along the adventure, she will have a unique rivalry with Xal'atath, whose twists and turns will come to define the nature of this new conflict. Of course, we'll see many more familiar faces on our journey and meet a host of new and interesting characters along the way that Maria is going to tell you more about in just a moment. But finally, this saga is only just beginning.
Vamos aquí con cosas de masones, chicos.
Conceived to be... Yes! Conceived to be an epic.
Buah, tío, me apetece hasta meterme al retail, chicos. Estoy del mismo loco. Escucha, ¿qué cojones vamos a hacer nosotros jugando a Classic en un servidor coreano?
Eso digo yo. Hostia, yo estoy jugando Lich King, Estoy jugando Lich King y estoy tirando ICC. Ice Crown.
Escucha, me he pegado un visto al juego ese de móvil ayer, que salió.
Sí, ¿no?
No, que está guapo, no es coña, O sea,
pero jugaste el modo PvE.
Las dos cosas. Hay raids y de todo. Y daños.
Claro, tío. Yo creo que esa parte me va a molar mucho del juego. Lo tengo que probar.
Y el PvP está bastante avanzado dentro de lo que cabe. O sea, dependiendo las... A ver, para que te hagas una idea, dependiendo de las copas que tengas, el nivel se queda capado, ¿sabes? Para que no te peguen en una humillada en plan pay to win.
Ah, bien. Me gusta eso.
Pero que está bien el juego. Yo no daba un duro por él y me ha sorprendido.
Bien, me alegro. Yo lo tengo que probar, 100% lo probaré, me lo descargaré.
Si no es que hay una D, ¿no? Joder.
Oh, ahí está. Que espabile Blizzard, coño. Yo acabo de hablar con la de Blizzard para decirle, oye, déjame probar ahí el este, tío.
No creo, ¿no? Yo creo que solo tendrán acceso, claro, porque ni siquiera Mongol tiene tampoco. Supongo que sea de la BlizzCon, ¿no?
Es la BlizzCon,
And I hope to hear lots of oohs and ahs when you see some of this cool art I've got to show you. So let's get started. Thank you. Yeah.
A ver, a mí lo que más hype me ha dado es Classic, pero por el hecho de que es ya, ¿sabes?
Claro, tío.
La expansión está, me la voy a meter por el culo, pero claro, queda mucho, o sea.
Queda muchísimo, eso nada.
Claro.
Y Cataclysm, Cataclysm va a ser tocho también.
Lo estaba pensando incluso también, Cataclysm. Es que a mí, yo lo dije, que es una expansión que, si es de las mejores, a mí me marcó mucho porque era como un rework a todas las zonas iniciales. O sea, si te a todo el mundo que le haya gustado Classic, tienes ese feeling de joder, vuelves a las zonas iniciales y las han cambiado. A mí el LVO me gustó mucho,
A mí también.
We don't really know, but we can probably speculate. So first, let's talk about the Earthen. you go. There you go. All right, we have met.
Pero le están buando de broma, ¿no? Supongo. Que no me he enterado. Que le están buando a la tía de broma, supongo, ¿no?
¿Cómo buando?
O sea, buando, abucheando. Me lo ha parecido, vamos.
Now, visually, these Earthen are a bit larger in stature, and they're noticeably blinged out. They've got gems all over them, bedazzled, blinged out, you know, that kind of thing, right? But philosophically, they are guided by the Edicts of the Titans, a set of codified orders, duties, and expectations.
Todos los talentos heroicos, a ver si dan más detalles, ¿sabes?
No, lo tienen que dar, lo tienen que dar. Es una charla de 1 hora y media, creo. O sea que lo tienen que dar. Porque la clave son los talentos, tío.
Lo que pasa es que después de eso creo que viene el Overwatch, ¿eh? Es duro, ¿no?
No me jodas, ¿en serio?
Hombre, no van las dos del WoW seguidas ni de coña, ¿no, gente?
Hostia,
O sea, creo que era WoW, Overwatch, WoW Classic, Hearthstone, ¿puede ser?
Puede ser, igual me fumo yo un porro. Ah, no, es Overwatch Deep Dive. Sí, es Overwatch.
They live conveniently near the object of their
No jugamos al
responsibility.
Overwatch.
That core way.
No, yo no. Yo
Now,
lo
the
jugué un par de
Unbound,
veces,
in
pero- y me
contrast,
gustó,
have
pero...
abandoned the edicts.
Bueno, un par de veces y
And
una
they
fue una
are
de histórico.
considered scandalously rebellious by the
Hostia,
Oceanic.
claro.
Their original responsibility
No, pero me
is
gustó,
providing
el juego está guapo,
materials
la
to
verdad.
keep the Titan installation supplied. And they're primarily rural.
Es como un
They're living
shooter,
in and
pero muy
around
guapo,
the
¿no?
quarries and
Pero
the
muy guapo,
mines
exacto.
where natural resources can be
Ese
acquired.
bebé te va a
They rarely
perseguir
interact with
hasta que te
city
retires, te lo
dwellers.
juro. Yo lo
Hasta
juego
que
mucho,
saque el
¿vale?
juego y la
Because
gente
they
diga,
have an
hostia, pues
opinion
muy
on
guapo,
how
la
they
verdad.
should
Sí,
live.
sí.
Now, the machine speakers have strayed from the
Cabrón.
edicts in practice, but not with respect to their overall obligation to keep the Titan works functioning. They've had extremely limited contact with the surface dwellers, and they express no little disdain for those who just don't understand the great machines. Their homes are built around vast industrial projects under the surface that allow them to perform their functions in accordance with edicts, more or less. These different perspectives among the Earthen and their variable adherence to the Titan's edicts has weakened the society as originally structured. And that's not good, of course, but a much more serious problem is their steadily dwindling numbers. For reasons that I'm not going to get into here and now, New Earthen can't exist until we help them out by doing some things and unite the Earthen society once more. Happily, as a result of our actions, the Earthen will eventually be unlocked as an allied
Pero esto
race.
es parte de un meme, espero, ¿no? ¿Por qué están abucheando?
Like sweet, don't they?
O sea,
Yeah.
me da pena, joder.
¿Están abucheando? Yo no sé si...
These player
Mira, yo
Están
estoy
ahí,
solo. Están abucheando, ¿verdad?
will replenish the culture's dwindling numbers.
O sea, no están... Es un no un boo, ¿no? Vale, vale,
Or
vale.
the
perdón.
alliance.
Claro, es... en plan motivado, ¿no?
Supongo que sí. No sé, es que me da mala vibra.
Claro,
Es de
lo que-
asombro.
Lo que esto ya es un poco anti-rol, ¿no? Esto que va a ser, gente, va a ser Alianza y Horda. Los enanos serán de los dos estos, ¿no?
Sí, será mítico que comparte, a lo mejor.
Claro, a ver, se supone que estos están en las profundidades, ¿no? Está como una zona a lo mejor neutral. Alianza
Claro, será
solo.
neutral.
Es raro que saquen una raza solo para una facción, ¿no?
No, eso no puede pasar. Eso es imposible. No lo van a hacer.
Claro, no, yo digo anti-rol porque están con los dos,
moving on.
no con uno.
Another cool culture that players will encounter in the War Within is the Arathi. Yeah. And you probably have questions, right? So these are descendants of the original Arathorian Empire, and they've arrived relatively recently and through some somewhat mysterious circumstances. And they find themselves trapped here within Khaz-Algar. Mysterious mostly because I can't say anything more about it just yet because of spoilers, but it's not like spooky mysterious, it's the other kind. As a people, the Arathi are worshippers and wielders of holy fire. They are dedicated to bringing hope and light to the darkness. They're tough, resilient people, with every member of the society being an able
Oye, chicos, gracias a todos
combatants.
por las suscripciones, tíos, que se está suscribiendo todo el mundo. Nadia, muchas gracias. Gracias a Clunchy, a Lord Chasti, a Jorge, a Brailol, grande hombre, ¿cómo estás, tío? Muchas gracias a Big Fair, a Johnny, a Belgrapos. Gracias a todos. Perdón por tener el submode, pero hoy con todo lo del Fortnite, la peña estaba siendo pesadísima y prefiero tener el chat a lo que estamos, ¿vale? Lo siento por los que no sois subs. Un abrazo a todos. Luego a lo mejor lo
from
quito.
which terrifying creatures emerge to rampage and create havoc. Not my idea of a cool place to hang out, but they're really, really tough.
These watery monstrosities, though, are nothing compared to the threat from below. A constant swarm of Nerubians has been held back so far from invading the Arathi lands. The assault is unrelenting, the threat is dire, and the Arathi can't hold much longer. These bastions of light against the darkness are far from home and limited in number. Sure would be terrible if there was also division within the Arathi ranks. Just saying. That would be pretty rough, what with them being so outnumbered. We could probably help them. All right, speaking of the Nerubians in the War Within, we'll explore their last kingdom deep within Khazalgar. These ancient survivors of the Black Empire who rejected their former masters have developed their own culture here in the deep darkness. As Taryn mentioned earlier, Xal'atath has made a bargain with the Nerubian queen Anserek, who seeks a new future and renewed glory for her people. The Nerubians are extremely capable and devious adversaries who have been honing their skills with their constant assault on the Arathi.
O sea, son nerubianos y están debajo del suelo, pero había zonas que eran fuera del suelo. O es que debajo de la
pero
tierra
son
había...
como evolucionados, o sea, no son los típicos.
No son los típicos,
¿sabes?
¿no?
Sí, sí, mira, están ahí como. No sé, son pros.
Supongo que habrá varias zonas debajo de la tierra en las que también entre la luz o algo así. O habrá. O saldrás, simplemente, no lo sé.
Enhancing their viciousness. And Queen Anserek has embraced these modifications with enthusiasm and eagerly offered her army to achieve the Harbinger's schemes. It appears to be a win-win situation. But not all Nerubians share their sovereign's enthusiasm for change and her embrace of Xal'atath. Shadowy figures with far too many limbs maneuver against the Harbinger's plans in opposition to the Queen's desire. As you might expect, any foray into this Nerubian kingdom introduces us to a variety of citizens, including some forms we've never encountered before. Here's a layout of some of the Nerubian models that are completed and also some that are in progress, as well as scale reference for goblins and humans, so you just get a sense of size. In addition to the Nerubian citizens, there are also domesticated insects who serve the kingdom as beasts of burden and pets. The team is hard at work building out the full range of carapaces, carapae, I don't know, whichever, skittering legs, grabby arms, piercing spiky bits, and creepy eyes for you to enjoy, I guess. All right, let's talk about our zones. The surface of Khazalgar is our first zone, called the Isle of Dorn. This is the home of the earthen surface dwellers, as well as other native species of creatures. The fertile soil, flowering plant life, and generous waterways provide nourishment for animals in this untouched paradise. An important facet of earthen society is Cinderbrew mead. This volatile substance
sí, se ve el cielo y eso, ¿no?
O sea, claro, pero entonces supongo que solo habrá una zona que está oculta debajo de la tierra y lo demás estará arriba.
Habrá un poco de todo, sí, claro, fíjate esto, mira.
Harvesting is always an exciting time as the ferocious creatures are understandably protective of their hives.
Claro, puede ser la entrada, tiene sentido.
Sí,
exacto, sí. With lightning and fierce winds. These wild elemental rooks
o sea, no se entrará por zonas antiguas entonces.
So blessed becomes a storm rider.
A saber por dónde tiran, ¿no?
Warriors of the earthen people. The Unbound deal with hostile creatures from time to time, but for the most part, the existence is fairly relatively peaceful, fairly sort of.
He visto lo de la edición tocha, todo lo que trae y es worth it.
Joder, 3 días antes lo juegas, tío.
Eso
es un poco guardada, pero...
Eso yo lo he dicho, no soy partidario, aunque me la he pillado instantáneo, pero es un poco lo que hicieron con el... Claro, es un poco lo que hicieron con el diablo, cabrón.
Sí, es lo que hicieron con el diablo, básicamente.
The city of Dornagal is the location of many important civic buildings, markets, traders, and crafters. And it's here that a traveler will find the expected amenities of a capital city, as well as the Titan Causeway, the defense of which is the Oathsworn's primary charge. Now, beneath the surface of the Isle of Dorn lies our second zone, the Ringing Deeps. As the name suggests, it is here that the Earthen are engaged in their work in accordance with the edicts.
A ver, yo, en lo de Classic, si se van a tirar una hora y pico, te tienen que contar un montón de movidas, ¿no?
Flipas, yo tengo un hype terrible, chaval. Nos van a hinchar de info.
Maintaining these tightened mechanisms and keeping
Y
everything
lo que habrá que ver
running
es
is
cada
both the
cuánto suben el cap,
responsibility
¿no?
and the
Porque
passion of the
empieza
machines
siendo
keepers.
25 y a ver,
The
se
Earth
supone
is
que es
shifting
nivel
too in
25
places,
capeado.
revealing
Tienes
openings
como
to the
una raíz de
sky
10
above to the Isle of
y
Dorne.
luego lo
These
expanden en
cenotes
contenido
bring
nuevo,
light and
supongo que será
water
así,
into
¿no?
areas once shrouded
Y
in
no
darkness.
tiene que ser mucho tiempo,
Abundant
espero que sea un
greenery,
mes o
flowers
así.
and creatures
Porque joder, al
that do not
25 cuando
typically
tardas en
dwell in
subir,
caverns
no sé,
may be
un día.
found in these idyllic
Hombre, me parece una
spots.
locura, ¿no?
It was really
A ver, 2
important to
semanas,
us
un
as
mes, a nivel
developers
25 te quedas
that we
ahí.
delivered
Es
the
mucho, ¿eh?
fantasy of the
Bueno, no,
hardworking
tienes razón.
industry
Sí, sí,
Claro, que
será
haces a
una
nivel
semanita
25 un
o dos.
mes.
No, una semanita o
of
dos.
natural beauty that don't feel like dark
A ver, si hay una
constrained
raid, tendrá cierta
Now, as the
dificultad,
machine
pero sí,
speaker
una semanita o
population has
dos.
dropped,
Y
they've
supongo
had
que también eso les
increasing
servirá para
difficulties with cobalt
aprender,
incursions.
a ver
And
qué
indeed, the
impacto
kobolds
tienen
have
los
taken over the
talentos, a ver qué
mines, the
impacto
work
tiene el
areas.
progress del
They've even
personaje.
built a
Tal, o
city
sea,
of their own.
Claro, date cuenta que han dicho que no va a haber. Claro, hay una cosa que no hay. Han dicho que no hay server de testeo para que tú lo veas de primera mano todo, ¿sabes? Para que no hay mucho spoiler, supongo.
You knew it had to be a candle. No take candle. No
Hombre,
take
sí,
candle.
será fresh server, ¿no? Que si no, ¿qué sentido
With the
tiene?
passage
Claro,
of
esto es
time,
nuevo,
the
gente,
Earth
solo
have
así son
diminished
estas.
both in number
Ah, no, de puta calle, eso es Fresh Server
and in the
100%.
knowledge required to perform the various routines to tune and repair
Lo que
the
no habrá es
processes.
hardcore.
The old
Por lo
ones
menos
have
ni de
been
coña.
forgotten,
No, no, no.
and new
En ese
creative
hardcore no
methods
creo que
must be
eran, porque
employed
querrán que haya
that the
PvP
edicts
y que la
Rito
gente pruebe los
to be
talentos.
obeyed. So they're kind of making it up as they go along. From the ringing deeps, we descend further into Khazalgar to reach Hollowfall, a vast hollow area in the earth, bordered by an endless underground sea. This tenuous foothold under the bright light of an enormous crystal has allowed the Arathi to survive, using their airships to travel to high plateaus and establish docks, light towers,
Y espero que metan
villages,
dual spec
and
en
even a
Classic.
priory.
Que eso es fundamental, tío, para poder tanquear y luego tener talentos de
Hombre,
PvP.
y más ahora, claro, sí, más ahora con todo esto.
Hope alive and spread the light, while engaged in a near constant battle with the Nerubians at their borders. The open spaces, the bright light, and the greenery are intended.
Yo creo que lo de Classic es lo que hicieron un poco, ¿no? El Classic Plus este que se rumoreaba, realmente lo es, o sea, es contenido realmente nuevo.
Para mí sí, o sea,
The crystal
cumple con la
provides
expectativa de
brilliant
Classic
light,
Plus.
warmth, and growth for vegetation. You may notice that all the blooming plants have opened their blossoms toward the light and seem to be reaching in that direction whenever they're in Hollowfall. Unfortunately, the crystal sun has been changing in recent years. Where once the light was steady and reliable, it now fades without
Qué
warning,
guapo lo de que
plunging the
cambie de
Arathi into
color y que se
darkness,
fume
save where they
lentito,
have
¿sabe
built
lo que te
light
cuesta?
towers and maintain
Hay
their
alguien
holy
que esté
flame
aquí más
beacons.
hypeado que yo por lo de
In the
Classic.
absence of
Lo
this
digo para
light,
cargármelo,
dangerous Kobis
porque no puede haber
and
nadie
other
que esté más
fierce
que yo.
creatures emerge
Hay
from
algunos
the
que me lo
sea
bajo,
rampage.
que me lo
The
bajo.
Arathi are barely holding back the Nerubians.
Dios.
These unpredictable episodes are incredibly
El Hound que está en el
demoralizing and
curro,
deadly.
jodido. Porque
the
Hound
light
está
has always
currando
returned
en
to
el,
Crystal.
no sé si está en el hotel.
So far.
Y tiene que estar ahora mismo Hound, pero
And at the deepest descent in the war within,
viendo esto.
we
Tiene que
reach
estar, no
the
sé si
zone
sigue
of
por aquí porque estará
Azj-Kahet.
currando. No
Almost
podrá
right.
verlo todo, pero
Anyway,
tiene que estar muy
the
jodido en la
Nerubian city of
recepción.
Threads has
Muy
been
jodido.
built on the ruins of itself, over and over and over again. As areas decay and crumble, a new district is built upon its ruins, and as a result, the city climbs ever higher. Those Nerubians favored by the queen, or possessing enormous wealth, or both, command the greatest views and live in the highest
Así se habla,
places,
Blufobia.
in the
Se
swarming
cierra el
masses of
restaurante y
many
a fumar
districts.
petardos. Y a la mierda.
The Burrows is the home of the scavengers, the forgotten, deep in the decay and the filth. The Umbral Bazaar is a trading hub of fine silks, fascinating alchemical discoveries, and other exotic and hard-to-find goods. The Skanes are the home of the lore keepers and scholars who toil to maintain the history of their people.
El bono
and
dinámico con
research
todas las
myths
monturas
and
es God.
legends
El
of
bono
Azeroth.
dinámico mola mucho,
There
pero
are many other
espero que no lo
districts in
saquen
less
de
than
Open,
savory
tío.
neighborhoods,
Porque
both
si hay vuelo al
well-known and
principio,
secret,
eliminas
that the
mucho
careful
PvP,
adventurer could
eliminas
discover,
mucho el explorar
should
las
they
zonas a
risk liking
pie, el
to do so.
empaparte de los...
But the key
A ver,
to
yo
such
supongo que no lo harán, no harán lo
exploration is
típico
fitting in
de
among the Nerubians,
tienes que hacer
and
una
being
cadena de
accepted.
quests, tal, lo
Enterprise
desbloqueas,
boasts
bueno,
its
cuando
best
salga yo de los cojones
accomplished
básicamente.
through skill
Sí, pero
in the use
rollo
of
a las 3
pheromones
semanas, al mes y
considerable
medio,
bravery.
pero que no te lo pongan de Open,
The zone
por
of
favor.
Azj-Kahet
Entiendo que en
features
Dragonflight sí,
areas
porque
of
es una puta expansión de
spectacular
dragones
dark beauty
y tienes lo
that
del
are
vuelo
inhabited
nuevo,
by
vale,
these
perfecto.
creatures that
Y
have
me
found
parece
a
bien
way
que
to
dejen el
live
Dynamic
among
Flight
the
este de que
Nerubians
controlas el vuelo.
without
Tú
being
jugaste
deemed a
Retail
threat,
con el dragón nuevo y
found
tal,
to
¿no?
be particularly tasty to
No lo
consume,
llega a probar, ¿no?
or
Pues
just
De
está
hecho, me
muy
estaba
guapo,
subiendo un
muy
personaje y
bueno.
lo tengo ahí, no...
The mobilization of
Está
forces
guapo,
to
o sea,
assault the
está
Arathi
bien.
while also
No sé qué tal la
providing
gente que lo ha
military
jugado
might
muy largo en
to achieve
duración, a lo mejor
Zalatath's
aburre un poco,
schemes
raya un poco que
has
no vayas
stirred up
volando
all
dándole
sorts of
a dar
inhabitants of the
automáticamente.
darkness.
Pero
And deep
está
within the
guapo, o
city
sea, la
itself,
mecánica mola.
The
Mira, aquí están
Nerubians are
enseñando.
gathering at
O sea, será
odd
similar, ¿no? A lo
sections.
de...
The black
Sí, me imagino
blood
que sí.
of
O sea,
the
creo que es
old
algo que ha
gods
gustado mucho,
for
¿eh?
some unknown purpose. But I'm
Ya,
sure
pero no
that's
poderte
fine.
quedar en el aire parado tiene una parte mala y una parte buena.
And now I'd like to
Es
talk
que
a
la gente esté
little bit
feca en el
about
cielo
our
no es
zone
bonito
flow.
tampoco en el juego, joder.
As I mentioned,
A ver,
awesome, huh?
no ves, la gente le gusta mucho esto, joder, porque el
We
vuelo
travel
mola.
from the Isle of Dorn into the Ringing Deeps, into Hollowfall,
Wow.
and then into Ashkahet. In the War Within, all of our zones are connected all together using the airlock technology that we developed for Zarelek Cavern, allowing for this seamless descent from the Isle of Dorn.
Están comentando que
all the
están
way to
tirando
Ashkahet.
bosses de lo de Classic,
That
pero
was
no
video
queremos
I just
spoilear, a
captured
mí no
last
sé.
week.
Ah, no, yo no quiero ver eso.
Transition between the
No lo
Ringing
quiero ver.
Deeps and Hollowfall.
O sea, a ver, yo spoiler me da
As you
un
can
talentillo,
see,
alguna cosa,
we
vale,
built for
pero...
dynamic flight,
Sí, sí, yo los
and we were able
talentos
to
de Rogue me
flow
los voy a
directly
spoilear
between the
si
zones
puedo,
without
pero de
delays.
calle, vamos.
There is some seriously amazing swoopy goodness to be had moving across these zones and through these spaces. It feels so cool to burst out of a really tight area and into just a huge drop like that. It's so exhilarating. Now, this blobby map that I've got up here was an early attempt during development of our zone flow to try to figure out how we would stack these zones together and achieve the relationship between their geography and geometry that made sense and felt great to traverse. We ended up with something slightly different than this, but this is pretty representative to explain what the world builders were thinking about when they planned these spaces out. It was really important to our design that while 3 of the 4 zones are technically underground, they didn't feel that way, and that they were distinctly different from one another. We pursued that goal by introducing the natural cenotes in the Ringing Deeps and leaning into the fantasy of the classic underground foundry and industrial workspaces. So even in the zone that felt the tightest, there's places that look as though they're actually on the surface. And within Hollowfall, we created a massive hollow space in a cavern so vast it feels like an exterior, with a huge artificial sun in the form of a gigantic crystal. And in Ashkahet, we leaned hard into traditional Nerubian architecture with hanging nests and huge palaces built all over a decaying city that just falls away into the depths. And that is the last bit of eye candy I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this peek at what we've got in development.
Y ahora para el Overwatch, ¿no? Supongo.
No me jodas.
So now it's time for
Dungeon
me to
Rights
introduce you to
Sistemas,
Morgan
pero no me
Day.
van a decir
He's
lo de
going
los
to give you
talentos, o me lo he
lots of
perdido, no creo, ¿no?
information
Para eso lo primero,
about
luego, luego.
dungeons, raids, and systems.
Pues,
Enjoy.
a ver.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Thank you very much, vale, bye bye. Ah, vale, Associate Game Media Director. Vale, vale, sistemas. Es este.
Hello,
Pues se le queda media hora todavía, ¿eh?
Sí. Qué guapa la Cami.
My name is Morgan Day, and I'm here to talk to you about some of the upcoming
8 años.
content, features, and systems in The War Within. I'm sure I'll also make some funny faces that I'll regret later in thumbnails, but
O sea,
whatever.
tienes 4 cuando vayas
First
subiendo
up,
de
let's
nivel,
talk about
típico de leveo, y
dungeons.
4 del
There'll be
máximo
8
nivel.
En
There'll
el
be
Classic,
8
¿no?
new dungeons coming in The
No,
War
no, en
Within.
esto.
4
Van-
during level up, 1 in
expansión,
each
nos
of the
están poniendo
4
ahora,
zones
Ah, vale,
that
perdón,
we're
joder, es que
walking
tú vas un
through,
pelín adelantado. Sí.
as well as 4 at max level. There's a lot of
Sí, yo a
really
mí no sé
cool
por qué,
stuff
pero me va con
happening
un
in these
poquito de ley.
dungeons.
¿Lo
For
tienes
instance,
en
we have
Twitch
like
o
a
en
Kobold
YouTube?
dungeon where you'll meet that Candle
En Twitch.
King, where there's like a light
Claro, pues vas
mechanic
un
that
poquito
takes
más adelante,
place.
me pongo
Está
de
saliendo
You have to
ahora
kinda keep it
un...
going to light your
Bueno, el
way.
tío hablando, sin
There's a
más.
dragon riding dungeon, of course, but also one of my favorites is the Cinderbrew Meadery that Maria just talked us through. So this is a dungeon that takes place on our first zone, the Isle of Dorn, which is where you'll experience like all the kids are drinking that, hard seltzer or something these days, but whatever. They're old school, I get it. Next up, our
Toca, si lo
raid,
estás viendo en
the
YouTube,
Nerubar Palace.
dale-
So this is
dale
an
al por
8-boss
2.
raid that will take place
¿Sabes?
in the zone of Ashkahet.
Ah, sí, me he puesto
eso-
en
eso-
This is
Twitch.
really the
Ahora ya
culmination
acaba de salir
of
lo
all
de
of those
Nerub Palace, ¿verdad?
machinations we keep hearing about that we see play out
sí.
between the
Vale,
Nerubian
pues yo creo que ahora
Empire,
estamos más
their
parejos.
queen,
Raid de
and
8
her
bosses, ¿no?
collaboration
Correcto,
with
sí.
Zalatath. So for this next one, we don't normally show things this early, but I thought it'd be cool to share. On the left there, you can kind of see the top-down view of the raid, and on the right, it's more of like a
Están
side
enseñando un poco el
cutout.
mapa, dice que esto no lo suelen hacer.
So we like to
Sí.
work on all of our dungeons and raids when they still
Está
look like
guapo,
this,
mola.
as it's much easier to iterate while we're in 2D than it is to kind of change the zones around.
A mí es que raidear
once
es
we're
una
in the
flipa,
game
loco,
and
me
it's all
mola.
blocked
A
out.
mí también, a mí también.
So to
Está
step
muy
us
guapo.
through the raid really
Yo estuve
quickly,
raidando
after
ICC
barging
ayer,
through the front door,
en el día libre,
you'll
dije yo,
very
hostia, me voy a
quickly
pillar una
fall
raid
and/or
de
get
ICC,
knocked
tío, que me
into
apetece,
one of
de
those giant
25.
pits of
Y me
that
puse a
black
raidear y
blood
me tiré
old
6 o
god
7
that you'll
bosses
hear
y
much more
me lo
about
pasé
in
de
Ashka
puta
Head.
madre. O
And
sea,
then you'll
a mí
battle
me
your
está
way
guapo.
through
gusta
the
también, está
harvest
guapo.
pits, and then finally traverse
Hay
your
que
way back
montarse
up through
un-
the stalactite wing, which is not a final name, I promise.
Un grupito de estos de
until you
Míticas Plus,
finally
está guapo, loco.
Sí,
fight
tío.
your way into the Queen's
Molaría que en
Sanctum,
Classic
where
lo
you'll come
hubiese,
face to face
tío.
with her as the
Eso
end
sí que es
boss.
Classic Plus.
So as you can
sea,
see,
que
this
haya
one
En verdad,
dificultad de
estaría
a
guay.
winged raid in
Sí,
terms of
Sí,
the
sí,
vibes, but
eso molaría,
in terms
¿eh?
of the
Tienes que hacer
player
el tiempo,
experience,
que
it'll
te
actually
den
be quite a bit more
loot.
linear than what you might be used to for a raid with some winged vibes.
Ya no te digo a lo mejor copiar la
something
la
that I
mecánica
also think
exacta
is
de
fun
los
to talk
afijos,
about
esos
really
y tal, ¿no?
quick
Pero
is,
sí un
with
extra,
all of
¿no?
our dungeons
Sí,
and
claro,
raids, we like
que
to
simplemente
try
aumenten
to
el daño, ¿qué
explore
tal?
like what is the
Que le
thing
metan
that's going to
alguna
make this
mecánica.
space feel really unique, that's going to make it stand out from all the other times that we've built these dungeons and raids. And with this space, we really thought that, you know, given that we have the Nerubian to play with, they've got all these amazing like webs and silken threads that you can kind of traverse the zone through. We thought it'd be really fun to explore verticality as a major element to this raid. So I think that'll be really fun to see what the team comes up with for that. Next up, let's talk about systems.
Eso es, Systems. Vamos a ver.
So I want to walk you through some of our features and systems at a really high level, but first I want to talk about some of the philosophies that are really guiding us to add these into the War Within. So first and foremost, you know, we really want to continue to extend the philosophies of Dragonflight into the War Within. And really, when we talk about that, there's 3 main pillars that I want to touch on. First, we really want to make sure that we're focusing on evergreen features. We want to make sure that we're making World of Warcraft better forever and not focusing on things that we know we're going to have to leave behind as we move into future expansions. Next, we want to make sure that there's something for everyone. So whether you're a hardcore raider, a PvPer, a collector,
Ah, me han dicho
or
que en
apparently
Lich King
my
hay como
colleague
una
who just
especie de
loves to play
Mythic
tons of
Plus.
alts and run
Sí,
around the
que se llama
world
Protocolo
flipas.
Gamma, no lo conocía.
Se llama
We wanna make
Gammas,
sure that
tío, y
there's
yo los estoy
something
haciendo
in War
CD para
Within
pillar,
that you can really geek
pa'
out
pillar
on and that resonates with
sí,
you.
fichas, tío. Es la polla, la
And
verdad.
finally,
La han mejorado.
we
Pero
wanna
no es
make
muy
sure that
difícil,
we're
¿eh? O sea, sigue
continuing
siendo
to build on our
bastante fácil la
philosophy
mítica. O
and
sea,
build on our
sigue
systems
siendo
and
facilita.
content with people who
Pero
play
está
multiple
guay. O
characters
sea,
online.
y pillas
We wanna
equipo
make
con
sure-
bastante más facilidad gracias a spamearlos.
We want to make sure that we're building all of our systems to really respect the time of the player behind the keyboard and not focusing so much on the accomplishments of that individual character. So let's talk about Delves. Delves are a new feature that will be integrated into the Outdoor World experience, where the fantasy of these is actually that you'll be joining the Dragonscale expedition in their search for lost treasures all across Khazalgar. So Delves are an evergreen feature that is really integrated into that Outdoor World experience. We want Delves to be a new pillar of endgame content for those Outdoor World explorers. We really view this as something like when we added World Quests back in Legion, where they are going to be really integrated and transformative into that Outdoor World, especially that endgame loop. So one of the main reasons I'm stoked about Delves is that these will provide an opportunity for us to, you know, give seasonal content and rewards to those Outdoor World explorers. So that means things like, you know, rewards that you're used to, like mounts, achievements, titles, but we'll also be adding a outdoor row to the Great Vault with War Within. So that all of you Outdoor World explorers will be able to share in the joy of, you know, rushing to the Great Vault every week to collect your loot. And there will also be 13 unique delves that we'll be launching War Within with. And delves will scale from 1 to 5 players and be role agnostic. So that means if you want to play a delve solo, that's totally cool. If you want to go with you and your partner, that works as well. Or you can bring your whole dungeon group in, and the delve will scale based on your group size and your roles. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention one of my favorite features of delves, which
Se nota mazo que el pobre es miope. Y a veces no leía de así como... Como los putos miopes que somos nosotros, tío.
Esto parece un poco un rollo como las aventuras de, iba a decir, a ver, Sea of Thieves y tal, pero que son como aventuras que habrá varias, que las haces con colegas y tal, y vas con un NPC, ¿no?
Sí, tiene que ser algo así.
Un rollo así PvE y tal, ¿no?
Seguramente sea full PvE.
Y hay como tesoros, dice que hay que explorar y eso.
Brand will have customizable talents and mechanics and abilities that you'll be able to kind of load out to suit your playstyle and
rollo expediciones de BFA.
You know, maybe you need a little bit of extra healing. Well, you can load
como las expediciones de BFA. No me acuerdo cómo eran las expediciones de BFA.
You wouldn't be exploring with the Dragonscale expedition if at the end of every delve there wasn't this massive treasure trove that we need Bran to open for us, which hopefully brought a couple of keys to open some of the chests in there. But before Bran can open that vault,
era lo de las islas.
You'll need to maybe defeat a boss, maybe solve a couple puzzles, something like that, and then Bran will be able to open that vault door for you.
Una puta mierda. Sí. No hace falta que lo metas ahí like. Claro, es que...
Next up, let's
era
talk
floja,
about
era bastante floja.
It's happening.
La idea era buena, pero la ejecución no lo fue tanto.
So warbands are a system that we're introducing that will really be the representation of all of your characters across your Battle.net account. Warbands are an opportunity for us to create a platform where you can share your achievements, resources, and all that other good stuff across all of those characters. So the goal of this system is really to be that representation of the philosophy shift that I mentioned earlier about really respecting the time of the player behind the keyboard.
A ver, eso está bien. Esto básicamente es, bueno, compartes el progreso, ¿no? De muchas cosas con todos los personajes.
Es importantísimo esto. O sea, que sean account-wise todos estos aspectos. En plan, te subes una repu, la tienes subida con todos. Tienes un banco en el que compartes todo. ¿Sabes? Para no tener que estarte todo el puto rato mandando correos, no sé qué. O sea, es una puta rayada. Te dejas el dinero en un depósito y lo coges con tu personaje.
Y aunque parezca una tontería, que sea de cuenta y que no sea de server, por ejemplo, también está bien, ¿sabes?
Sí, sí, sí.
A lo mejor juegan un par de servers.
Sí, obviamente, sí, sí. Yo juego
lo que sea. ¿Tú no esperabas algo del Game Pass? Yo algo, ¿eh?
Yo también, yo aún lo espero. Yo aún lo espero, o sea, no...
Eso me parece como mucho, como para dejarlo para los paneles estos, ¿no?
Es demasiado tocho, quizás. Sí.
Igual
lo dejan para el final ahora.
Mira,
this is obviously one that people are looking forward to. All of our reputations as well as renown in the War Within will be shared across your entire account.
Eso es bestial. Bien, buen call.
Toda la reputación a por culo. ¡Mira, mira esto!
Last but not least, let's talk about hero talents. So here's a quick mock-up of what the UI will look like that I think really helps explain how these integrate into our current talent trees. But really quick, let's take a look at how this will work. So there will be 3 new hero talent trees per class, and 2 will be available per specialization that you can freely choose and swap between. And also, this is another evergreen feature. This is a system that we think is going to provide a new vector of choice and customization for you and all of your classes.
Es como un 2.0 de Dragonflight. Creo que eso a la gente le gusta mucho, los talentos.
Es que los talentos de Dragonflight, después de la puta basura que nos hemos comido de los últimos expansiones, están muy bien. Es volver al principio o algo parecido al principio.
And the way I like to think about it is like, currently we have 2 types of talent points, right? We have class talent points and specialization talent points. And now in the War Within, there'll be a 3rd type called hero talent points. So let's look at a quick example, which hopefully explains it a little bit more.
A ver, está el típico, es el de clase, el de druida. Claro, míralo.
These are the 3 hero talent trees that they'll have available: Mountain Thane, Colossus, and Slayer. And as you can see in the top left, we have Protection, who will be able to choose between Mountain Thane and Colossus. Up on the right, you see Fury. Yep, that's right. Mountain Thane and Slayer are their options, and down at the bottom,
vale, o sea, cada spec puede utilizar, o sea, 2 heroicas, ¿no? El Fury Slayer el Mountain, Protection Mountain Coloso y Anos Slayer Coloso.
And Demon Hunters, who are a bit special, so theirs will look a little different.
No, pero podrás escoger una de las 3, no, o 2.
No, o sea, cada rama, cada especialización puede acceder a 2. de las heroicas elegirás
So the
una,
system will
claro.
automatically
Ah,
unlock,
exacto, claro.
Pero por
puedes
ejemplo,
optar a dos y escoges
claro,
una.
pero hay algunas que no pueden hacer a ciertas,
you'll
¿sabes?
earn 1 talent
Ah,
point
bueno, claro,
per
sí, por
level
supuesto.
as you level from 71 to 80. And there are 10 talent points in total with several choice nodes along the way. So I like to think of this as being similar to like the Legion artifact, where as you were leveling and progressing, you were making some choices
Sí, como
along
el
the way.
artefacto de
But
Legion.
ultimately, you're going to unlock the whole tree.
Correcto.
And also, I want to be very clear here. These are extremely low friction to swap between those choice nodes, as well as to swap between the different hero talent trees.
Bien, que no tenga mucho problema para cambiar de talentos y
No
tal.
te cobren
you know,
10
this
Gs
should
ni
be
cosas
very
así,
analogous to your current talent
O que
trees.
tengas
It
que
will follow
esperar
all the
como
same
las
rules
putas
that you use
covenants y
there.
toda esa
So, you know,
mierda.
at
No,
the
no.
start of a raid boss, you know, before Mythic Plus starts.
Ah, 10 Gs aquí es una
before,
mierda,
you know,
pero bueno,
Rematch
en Classic es un
kicks
palo.
off, and anywhere in
Joder,
between.
en Classic. Tienen que
And
meter
to
toda la
wrap us
spec,
up,
aunque te
I
cobren
wanted to show
500
off a
Gs, da
really
igual.
quick video
Que la
of
pongan,
what
tío.
hero talents look like in action.
Si no están fuera.
So this is a warrior, as you can see, pop an avatar, jumping in. And this next one is that same warrior with the Mountain Thane talent tree. As you can see, Stormbolt hits multiple targets. There's
Sí,
a
eso está
couple of
guapo.
cool new
O sea,
vehicles,
básicamente las
and a
habilidades
lot
las
of other
tunean.
cool stuff going on
Correcto.
Una que
Mola.
un salto pues pega en área, hace no sé qué, ralentiza, estunea.
Our
Está bien.
effects
Mola.
artists will be
A mí
happy.
estos
cambian el efecto.
opciones me
So
molan.
that about wraps us up for our What's Next panel.
Bien, bien, bien.
Saca aquí esto.
Buena pinta.
We hope you really liked what you saw here, and if you'd like to know more, please join us
Perfecto.
tomorrow at the Deep Dive panel at noon, where Ian will walk you through some of what you saw today in more detail. Woo, Ian! As well as a bunch of other cool new stuff in the War Within. So thank you all so much. I hope you have a great BlizzCon. Bye!
Bye.
Ay, pero es que ahora estaría guapísimo el clásico. Es que te
Sí,
vas a
tío,
acordar.
pero hay que comerse el Overwatch. Que a mí me está bien, yo lo veo, pero joder, tío, estoy con muchas ganas de Classic.
Claro, claro.
Todo lo de Classic, para los que estáis preguntando, tanto el chat del Kencro como yo, conmigo, lo van a explicar en profundidad ahora, o sea que no os rayéis. O sea, lo que han dicho antes es como un petit aperitivo, digamos. Lo gordo viene a las 11:30, que es dentro de una hora aún.
Omen. Game Live.
Quiero ver los putísimos talentos de Rogue, la verdad.